everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Winning Together podcast. Across from me, I've got Jared, Jam Master Clinician Casey, and Shay, Buster Recovery Aslet.
Woo woo.
Jared, how are you?
I'm doing really well.
Okay. Glad to hear it. We find ourselves in marvelous May of 2020. How's it been going so far?
2020 has been a very strange year, but honestly, as we've adapted, as we've talked about in these past podcasts, we're adapting, we're finding a way to grow and thrive.
How are you seeing, so on the Winning Together podcast, we talk about all things recovery, joy, struggle, adversity, opportunity, how to win yourself, how to help those around you win, how to allow people to see you. In the recovery space, how's that shown up with people going through recovery? Either actively or contemplating it or what?
I think this is a really powerful lesson that we can learn from our clients is they're already used to a lot of chaos and discord, and life for them hasn't been all that different in a lot of ways, at least from what I've seen.
Interesting.
So to them, this is just another version of a chaotic reality that they're already coming out of or have been living. So I've seen a lot of them adapt pretty well. The bigger concern that I have is getting in this rut of this is now socially acceptable to not go to work or to take things really, really slow or to not seek change or to watch a lot of TV and distractions. So that I think is going to be a bigger issue in the coming weeks and months. But as for this pandemic, what I've seen with my clients is they've survived worse things in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And they're not that shocked, at least from my viewpoint.
Okay. So that's the adaptability to, kind of a significant circumstance they've practiced in a sense. However, experiencing that miracle of getting somewhere they haven't been or transform or change or shift that then becomes kind of pushed out further because around them there's not so much, I don't know if it's incentive or pressure or, motivation. I don't know what the right word is, but.
Well, I think that this piece is, are we finding what motivates us? Are we learning more about ourselves? Are we gaining more insight? Or are we allowing another version of a distraction to take over?
Ooh, well said.
And that translates to staff, that translates to me, it translates to everyday person that's out there. Are we pivoting with this and gaining more, learning more, growing more, or are we kind of sitting back and falling back? I'm really grateful that
Iron Recovery sponsors this podcast. We do it. It's an opportunity for you and I to ask: am I, reverting to the mean? Am I becoming, complacent? And that's a valuable question, because if you can ask yourself without putting yourself down, yeah, you're getting complacent. Let's go, and have somebody that you can be in it with. You're asking, hey Shay, what's going on? Are you in? How's it going? Where are you going to step up? And vice versa. And that makes a big difference. You can just that weekly check, okay, let's go. Time to full court press. Let's go. We're up by 30 points. No, full court press. Let's go. All right, so we've got some interesting topics today. So one of the things that we want to talk about is how to notice when nobody is winning. So whether you're in a recovery situation or a family situation, I think that this crisis has put a lot of the skills that you learn in recovery to all of us on how to find ways to win.
Yeah, and I look at this, I love that statement, nobody's winning. And I think we've all been in arguments with our friends or family or people in our life that nobody wins. You leave that space feeling worse than where you started. So practicing this this self-awareness of, oh, we want to win. How can we win? And how can we become more adapt and willing to share that space with these people in our lives that we can create an opportunity to win. So part of that is recognizing, where am I not winning in my life? What are some areas that are just not going very well? And am I willing to recognize there's pain there and let that pain help me change?
And even if you just have a desire to believe and hope that your life can be different in that area, or that relationship with that important person can be different, or that you can control your emotions better, or your actions better, even just wanting it to be possible, that's what creates all the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think there's this concept of, I'm going to work really, really hard on one thing, and then we can get burned out doing that one thing. But if we take a more of a holistic view, all right, I'm going to work really hard in this area. I'm going to recognize there's something that I want to be willing to change, and I'm going to put some energy into it. Okay, I'm getting close, but I'm not quite there. I'm going to pivot my energy and start working on something else that also needs help. And what you get is this effect of the rising tide raises all ships. And one area of your life will improve, and it will consequently connect another area of your life and raise that up.
Right.
And something you spend all this time trying to solve might actually self-solve because you solved another area. And they cross help each other.
I mentioned the momentum, and commit to never doing your life alone. And as you develop one area, if you allow yourself to be held accountable with somebody else, or partner up, or be in a competition together, or you're sharing a goal together, they'll help you keep that momentum because you know that they're gonna check in on you.
Just kind of a weird analogy I just thought of was, when I was a kid, I used to love playing Zelda and Castlevania, like these these video games that were basically puzzle games. And I remember like working really hard to figure something out. I'm like, oh, I can't find that. So you go do something for a while somewhere else, and then a part of my mind's like, oh, I bet you this would work. Or I ask a friend, hey, how'd you fix that part? Or how'd you get through this area on that, whatever? And all of a sudden this knowledge starts to share, and it starts to decode, and you figure it out. So life isn't that much different. We ask questions, people want to help us. We seek solutions, and we start working, doing life.
A way to think about that is brick by brick to make it stick. You can't just flood in an area of your life and catch up and make it right quickly without some wobble, without some setback, and maybe even a reversal all the way. Let's take money for example. Lottery winners often are 3 years later back where they started at. Doesn't matter how much they won or not, because they haven't become the people to hold on to that place, to that what that money represents to them or whatnot. And same with that situation is you became somebody who could solve puzzles because you were willing to grow and be persistent and patient, ask for help, and allow your brain to work on it. I mean, what we know now is your subconscious to work on it while you were also doing something else.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's a great analogy. I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, so by the way, is it possible to win and not have somebody lose?
I feel like if you win and not have someone lose, yeah, I think so. I think the idea is to hope for progress. I mean, ultimately a win-win-win. No, I win, you win, we win together. If you change the way you view winning to failure isn't bad, failure is a learning opportunity, life is a learning experience, I don't think you can really lose there.
If you're willing to be open to different ways of what winning looks like for you, if you get stuck on just it has to look a certain way, you'll often find yourself pitting yourself against people you care very much about, or taking, becoming a person that you don't really like in that situation. But if you're allowing to trust that if your attitude is committed to being your best and giving your best and showing up the way you said you would, and allowing the winning to happen as it happens, there is 100 different ways in almost every situation to win. And I found too, if you allow it to not be personal, even though it's, let's say your relationship for now, if you allow it to not be personal and put the onus on the relationship or the behavior or the interaction, it allows the people to win and the old behavior to lose. Or the new thing you're creating together to win and who you used to be to lose. And that's a great place to be, because if you allow who used to be to lose, it doesn't cost you anything now. It just, you allow that person to be further behind you, while the guy or the people or the relationship you're moving forward is becoming bigger and more clear in your future.
Yeah, I think one way of looking at it, I had a divorce attorney tell me once, I was taking a class with, was that if people really realized how hard divorce is going to be, how expensive divorce is going to be, how much work divorce is going to be, and he said that the majority of all of his clients would tell him after everything was done, I wish we'd have worked that out. I wish we'd have found a way.
Like over 51% or like 80%?
Like almost 80 to 90. Most of his clients would tell him after, I wish we just worked that out. This is not what I thought it would be. Because they could not find a way to win. And I'm not saying that every marriage is going to work or whatever. I'm just saying if you look for the solutions, you look for ways to win, both parties are going to probably lose a little or give up a little to create something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a natural give and take to create something different and to find a way to win.
Are there very few who go through the mental exercise of what it might cost to follow through with the divorce?
I would think that...
Not just money, but emotionally and taxing and complicating your lifestyle. And
yeah, I don't know if people run it all the way through or have the capacity to run it all the way through when they're stuck in a negative headspace or they're stuck in their negativity. Because at that point, they're kind of seeing it only as a lose. John Gottman, in his research for marriage and family, he said that you could track a couple if they were going to be successful or if they were going to get divorced within 5 years pretty quickly. And one of the trackers was, how do they tell their history of each other?
Interesting.
If they start talking about the wedding cake and the wife is, or the husband is, the wedding cake was really sour and the drinks were all crappy and nobody could dance and the music was bad and everything was sloppy. And that may not at all be true, but that's how they're starting to remember history, is they're starting putting history through a negative lens that nothing went right. Even though if you go back, maybe the drinks were perfect. The wedding cake was delicious. The scenery was wonderful. The photos were perfect. Everything was great. But our mind starts to filter everything through this heavy, lose lens that even our past is a loss. It was never good from the beginning. Mom always said it was a bad idea. No wonder why it didn't work or whatever that is. So as we reframe that lens, yeah, you're going to lose.
And then your recency bias, or the bias you're experiencing now because you are going through a hard or adverse time with your partner, now affects or filters how those experiences were or are. And what's some of the more recent research is that, 50-60% of what we tell ourselves about the past is even true?
Yeah.
Didn't even happen.
And if we can assume it goes both ways, so we start projecting the future, well, it's going to be like this. We're going to probably see it really rosy in our favor and really poorly in our relationships. Mm-hmm. Well, they're going to be this. We're going to start putting these assumptions everywhere.
Yep.
And you lose.
Everybody loses.
Everybody loses.
Kids lose, family loses, and in those times where you got to get away from the abuse or the financial problems or the core, I believe in God, you don't believe in God anymore type issues. So from your lawyer friend, it sounds like that's maybe 10 to 20% of it.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the stories people tell themselves when they're at the point that it's time to become pot committed to that decision, right? So pot committed is where you've got so much invested already, you might as well just go all the way. It's statistically, that's a place where people are not good card players and losing. That's a turning point where they kind of get pot committed on bad hands. And we were talking about this earlier about scripts that we tell ourselves. There's scripts about money that there's always enough, there's not enough, it's good to be poor. And I asked you about recovery scripts, what people tell themselves and that. And one of the ones you told me that kind of comes up in that is, I'll be happy when we're divorced, I'll be happy. When I get the settlement, I'll be happy. When I have full custody of the kids, then I'll be happy. So I won't say total. 90, 80% incorrect.
Yes.
Significantly incorrect.
Yeah, and one of my counselors, she'll put it this way: the grass is always greener on the other side because there's more shit in it.
Ooh, that is good.
And it's part of that. I'm projecting it. It's going to be happier when. That theme is so powerful and strong, and it induces this false reality, increases anxiety, and puts people in a state of blame and victim. You're not going to be happy when you're a victim or when you're blaming. You're not going to be contented when you're putting everything in the future.
Or a martyr. Same thing. Yep. Put that in there. When that situation, who would be contented?
Who would be contented with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in that situation that you've got all the incentive and opportunity to be a victim or a martyr or future trip or look at things how they were in the past and be anywhere but the present. What is the place to win in that situation?
Well, there's not a lot of winning when you're in that space.
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck in a false reality.
Mm-hmm.
This reality is giving you a payoff. In that payoff, you don't have to focus on your own problems. You don't have to focus on your root issues. You don't have to restore your relationships. You can be distracted by anything and everything. In that space, you don't have to live.
You're primarily looking for evidence that supports what you want to tell yourself is charging that emotion or that idea or that wrong.
You're feeding this false reality with enough crap that it sustains you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And people around you may feed that or help prove it right. Now, we're always being little scientists in our own lives. Like, well, every time I do this, she does that. Every time I say that, she's going to be mean. Every time this happens. You don't know that. All you know is that you're going to feel a certain way by how you decide to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to feel hurt if you look at me wrong. I'm going to feel hurt if you forget my birthday. I'm going to feel hurt, blah, 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 dot, 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 dot. And in that space, honestly, there's not a lot of growth. There's not a lot of happiness. There's just a lot of pain. And it may be enough pain to keep you on the line for months, weeks, years. And eventually you look back and you look at your life and you say, what happened? Did I have a life? What did I do? Do I have relationships? Do my kids talk to me anymore? Do I just work all the time?
Is there enough money?
Is there enough
money? Has there been enough money? Do I still feel the way I feel, or am I acting the way I'm acting?
Yeah, I mean, one quote from Gordon B. Hinckley, he said that you're not going to look back and say, oh, man, I really wish I worked more. But you'll probably look back and say, I wish I spent more time on things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I connected with my family. I wish I made better relationships.
And I believe that it's important to understand that life is rarely in balance, that you're spending 70 hours a week with your family, as well as 70 hours a week at your work, plus you're getting full 8 hours of sleep, and you're eating right, and it's this active giving to your life. You're going to give it your best effort, and you're going to keep on trimming this script to make sure the story is in line with who you want to be and who you're becoming. How do I want my... Well, do you want your spouse to react in a terrible way? Or do you want your partner or your parent to always look at you as a bad girl or a bad boy? Well, if that's the case, keep feeding that. But if you want something different, you got to start creating the possibility that it can be different and show up in a different way.
You got to do different. You got to let something else change. There's too much space of waiting for your life to happen. And we get this, I'll be happy when also feeds, I'm going to be happy when life happens for me or to me, instead of I'm going to go make life happen. I'm going to go happen to life or for life. I'm going to give to life or give for life. I'm going to improve my situation.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to get out of that. I personally have struggled with that in different areas. Just to give you an example, I decided to learn piano last year for my birthday.
Right.
I'm going to learn piano. I took lessons for several months. My son and I practiced together. We learned a lot of cool little songs. I was feeling really, really confident. Well, then piano started to feel like a burden. I don't have time for this. I'm got this. My balance wasn't off. I didn't have 70 hours for piano and 70 hours for work. So my son lost his motivation. I let him quit. The day he quit, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I was really kind of doing it for him and for me, and I'm like, I don't know if I've got it. He started playing yesterday, and it was a song we learned together. It was a beautiful song, and he still played it really pretty well. And I couldn't remember even more my fingers on the keyboard.
Interesting.
And when I walked in the room, he's like, Dad, I barely remember this song. And I thought, wow, what if we just spend a little time, 5 minutes even, just remembering that one song? How good that would feel right now. We let life happen to us. We stopped happening to life. So I'm like, I'm going to recommit. I'm going to remember and work on incremental growth. I'm going to incrementally happen to my life to stop doing that I'll be happy when pattern. It's going to happen now, even if it's 5 minutes, 5 seconds.
So did your why change? Are you approaching it with a different kind of strategy?
I felt pain. So I felt pain that I lost an opportunity these last several months to keep that knowledge that we've gained together. I didn't realize in the moment how we were sharing something together. We were sharing practice and we were growing together, and he actually found some joy in it. At the time though, we were trying to be the standard of the piano teacher, 30 minutes a day. And we couldn't live up to that standard, and because we were trying to live up to someone else's standard, we were feeling kind of miserable.
Yeah.
And he was miserable, I was miserable, we were making each other miserable. Practice became such a burden. Now looking back, well, why don't we just do 5 minutes and just enjoy it? Maybe 5 minutes will be 25 minutes some days.
That's really, really huge. So a couple things there are important. So the technique that you're talking about is that people using forever is bring your future forward and you gotta imagine the pain of regret or the pleasure of having that experience. So bring your future forward to the present and visualize. I mean, human beings are the only creature that we know of that can actually imagine something, and your brain doesn't know if it's happening or happened or it's real or not real. So you can create this, and you can really feel it in your body, and that's where that commitment, that pleasure of connecting with the keyboard and your son and how you look at yourself changes. The second thing is there's going to be this learning curve, but at some point being willing to say, hey, this isn't working for us. We both want to do this. How do we revisit this? How do we make it work for us? What does that look like? And being more adaptable kind of in that moment, that's big, man. And then coming back to it and showing, your son what it's like to recommit. Instead of like letting the shame kind of creep in and just not talking about the piano. Or just not like acknowledging it or going back, like you're confronting it.
Well, in a way, like I haven't even wanted to touch the piano.
Yeah.
Like I haven't tried at all. I'm like not touching it.
Totally get that.
And then I hear my wife playing guitar, and she's growing her skills every day and getting better and better. And I'm like, should I be doing that? And then there's that shoulda, coulda theme that starts to play into our lives.
Yeah.
And then there's shame that comes with that. And well, screw it, I'm not gonna do
I heard something I really like this week that was when we are struggling or when we're experiencing doubt, that we look for the people or the things that support why it won't work. Instead of, at that moment, going to find the people that support the ways that it still could work, or it might work, or how it might feel if it does work.
Oh yeah, that's a quick shift. It's pretty fast in all of us. One thing that came up for me was I was at this training, and this PhD, awesome doctor lady, I don't even know, but she was just giving some great wisdom, and she said, how do you create something? Like, who in here has created anything and done something great or built something wonderful? What do you do to do that? And, we started saying things like, well, you persevere, or you fight really hard. And one of the things she said is, well, I'll tell you what you don't do. And what you don't do is you start asking how. Don't ask how.
Right.
Don't do that. You just do it. You just start doing it, and the process of doing creates the how. Where we stop ourselves with not how. It's just like, that is creativity killer. It's spraying that weed killer all over your creativity.
And put that person as your partner or your spouse or your parent or your best friend, double killer.
Yep. And it's one of those pain points for me is like, I love creativity. I love thinking about and growing and doing things. And when I hear, well, how do you do that? I instantly feel like, gear way down. And, well, yeah, we can get practical and that, but we're not even to that stage. We haven't done anything yet. This is just creativity time. So allowing the space to just see a different outcome, a miracle day, or your best self, and bringing that future back to you, like you're saying, that's just a step that people skip or they shut down immediately by, what does it look like?
I'm going to share this analogy it's Rob Proctor, so it's not mine. And he's talking about that exact instance when you use the analogy of an ice climber. So an ice climber's got a 100-foot wall of ice, and he knows he get to the top, and he doesn't sit there and obsess with how. He's going to figure that out as he goes along, but the way he starts is step, crampon, like axe, he's up, 1 foot, okay? And as he goes, he figures out his line. I mean, he has an idea of what line, but he figures out his line as he goes, working his way up. And I love that. It really helps him visualize exactly what you're talking about. Is he doesn't need to know the line from the beginning to get up to the top. He just knows that he can. He's got the tools. There are lines, and he's going to start climbing.
Well, there's that paradigm of, well, I'm going to be a failure, or I'm not good enough, or we're talking about these scripts that people have in their heads, us included, of, well, what if I fail, or what if I'm not good enough, or what if I can't do it? And all those things do is shut down your ability to do something, to do anything. And what we're hoping for is you break that stream of negative thought that's internal, and you switch it to one of do anything, do something. And as you do that, you will find differences, and you will find ways to get to the destination.
You want to know essential, like, do this and you will recover. When you put more importance on how you see yourself and not how I think Jared thinks I think I am. And we talked about that at the very beginning. This might be a good way to kind of button this up together is when you're in a place of you know, let's just use the piano example. At some point, part of the story I imagine was, how am I going to look, or how do I think I'm going to look to my son or to my wife or just anybody else but to yourself. And it wasn't even how it was how you thought they thought it might be. And that's jamming you up instead of how am I going to feel about me, and less concerned about how you think other people think they might think about you. It's really important. It's really important. Because that good feeling of how you see yourself, that's going to get you up in the day. That's going to get you sitting down at the piano bench. That's going to get you like, no, you know, it's midnight. I know. I still going to practice piano. And you go and tinker on 5 keys and you touch it. Yep, okay, did it. And you confront with your son, or you know, you find a way to, and that's where the creativity then creates new ways of you didn't even thought about. 5 minutes a day, okay, or 5 minutes on Sunday, or whatever it is. Like, okay, and then you create ways, and now you like you. And if you can like you in that area, you can see how you can start liking you at work or with your spouse and doing things that you like. I've been really on this deliberate practice of feeling good. Just ask myself, what feels good? Do you feel good? Do things that feel good. How about if you feel good? And just ask myself, why not? Why not spend your day, the majority of your feeling good? Why not? And that's been a really big breakthrough for me of when I'm feeling feelings that aren't good, becoming aware and just asking, like, feel good, let's do it. How do you change that around? What does that look like? What do you do? And it's been really, really significant for me.
And I just want to notice that in you. In the time I've known you, you've worked really, really hard to not fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But to really live it. Like, how do I live this the real, genuine way so that it comes out real and genuine inside and not just on the outside? Mm-hmm. And I just want to acknowledge you on that.
Thank you. so much. A couple years ago, I told you that I do awesome. That's what I do, and that was kind of in the. It's not there yet, but that's what I want it to become. And over time, as I've practiced, if you allow me to practice, give me feedback, it's become more and more like, no, it's just what I do. It's who I am. I do awesome. And when it's not, I'm open to doing it right. And awesome, it changes. And it doesn't always look the same thing. It's not a standard. It's how I feel about the effort I'm giving and how I'm showing up. And like you said earlier, almost every way that's affected my life. In almost every way of, doing that exact same thing. Thank you for noticing that, Jared.
You're welcome.
Thanks for creating a space for that to happen.
And I think a space, I appreciate that as well. A space around this, creating what you want with your life. We don't always know if we're ready for awesome or feeling good or whatever that is. We may have a hope that something's better. And we take that hope.
This is a really good point.
We apply some willingness. All right, I'm going to be willing to wear awesome and wear feeling good everywhere I go, or wear integrity, or wear kindness.
Or just stop being grumpy, or stop being so catty, or stop being
gossipy.
Yeah.
And practice wearing that different version of you. And what will happen is you'll start to develop a new code of living. Let's call it your own 10 Commandments. And at first it's like soft concrete. You just poured it. And now you're writing it in with your finger and it's starting to line up. And over time it's going to harden and it's going to be solid.
Yeah.
But it's okay that it's not solid yet. It's okay that you don't necessarily believe it yet. But you want to believe it. You want to try it on. And as you do it, you see other people experiencing change. And if Shay can do it, I can do it. If Jared can do it, I can do it. If with all his weaknesses, if you really know me, I'm not that sharp. I've got a ton of weaknesses. Anything I've created here has been given to me from higher power. The reality is, if I can do it, you can do it. There's no difference other than my willingness to try on something different that's better than where I'm at.
Well said. Everything is figure outable if you're willing to feel good and be open to creating a different experience. That's recovery, that's change, it's adapting, just like we're all doing. Well said, well put. All right, Jam Master Clinician. This is Shay, Buster Recovery guys. We're gonna wrap it up today, okay? We'll see you guys. Cheers.
Cheers. We do awesome, we do winning, we help people find solutions, and we help people get recovery. If that's something you're looking for and need, give us a call, email us, reach out to us, whatever you can, and we'll help you find what you need. If we're not the right fit for you, we know people in the community and around the country that have awesome programs and can get you the resources you need. Sure. You can hit us up at our phone number, 801-407-9998. You can also check us out online at i-am-recovery.com.